Hello, I'm Zach.
My name's Jared. This is the Gym
Trash
Trash
podcast.
Podcast.
um,
Oh yeah.
actually, Mysterious Podcast X, episode one.
Ah, shoot, but only for the next two episodes are we going to be known as the Mysterious Podcast X.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that is because in these next two episodes we are going to cover one of my personal favorite anime that I or series because it does have it's based off of manga as most anime are. But it's going to be one of my favorite that I found in my sophomore year of high school. And only recently I made, I didn't make Zach. He more forced me to tell him about it. And then he watched it. He
Okay, but
thought
also,
it was
like,
pretty good.
if you're like, yeah, this is my favorite, like, anime slash manga, and then just don't tell me what it is, I'm going to ask.
Well, I'm sure after you watched or read it, you understood why I was so hesitant on telling you, oh yeah, this is my favorite anime. Please
True.
look at it and enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I watched the whole anime and then I read most of it. I told you that, like, I read it online sans the last chapter because that wasn't up for some reason. Um, and I'm still very confused, so you're gonna have to like tell me all about it because I'm like,
Well, we're gonna split. So we're gonna cover the entire series, but we're gonna split it in half. The first three volumes of the English manga in the first episode, and then the last three volumes in the second episode. Just because I haven't read volume 5 yet, because I was trying to find it in physical print, which we'll get to. Um, just fuck volume 5 apparently. So I'll have to read that one and then read the sixth volume before we can record the second episode. But I've already read volume 1 through 4, and I finished the anime like several times over. So I'm not gonna say I'm a professional, but
Jared knows his
I know
shit.
I know a, I know a little bit about the anime. Okay, okay, but just like some quick information about it. The author, gonna butcher this name so bad because I'm not Japanese. Ichi Ueshiba.
Ushiba?
Ueshiba?
Ushiba?
Ueshiba? I don't know, man. It's Ueshiba. Yeshiva. But so originally wasn't a manga. It was a one chapter short story that he published in 2004. And then 2 years after that, in 2006, he released it in Kodansha's monthly magazine as a manga. And he just picked it up from his short story. He just continued it after that. And then its English publications were released by Vertical Comics. Um, excuse me. And the way they did it is they condensed the original 12 Japanese volumes into 6 English. So they translated 2 Japanese per 1 English, which is why there's only 6 English volumes.
Oh, really?
And then after that, it got its anime adaptation in 2012. So
Side
it's
chaining real quick. Every time you look up at like the camera, you give like this really like sexy face.
well, thank
Like
you.
the stoic look.
I'm looking at you, BB Boo.
Hell yeah.
Okay. So one of the quotes in the like all the volumes at the end of it, which I think sum up this manga series so well, is don't you think a girl who drools when when she falls asleep is cute? Well, this is a comic about that sort of girl. And if that doesn't tell you what you're in for, go we get into it later.
It's not as bad as it seems. It's still bad. Not like bad in like quality bad, but like
It's not like
a lot
it's
happened.
not like hide underneath the bed bad. Like it ain't no Bible Black, but it's not something you want to maybe freely advertise to people that like
Yeah,
you're a
don't
diehard
read it
fan.
on the bus.
It's not going to put you on any lists, but it's a little something else.
Yeah, like read it in the comfort of like your own room. Watch it in the comfort of your own room, and you're good.
So the story takes place around two characters. Obviously, like the main two characters. Our main protagonist is Akira Tsubaki. We love him, sort of. He's got
We
some brown
stand.
hair. He's all right.
Average Asian.
And then the main heroine is Mikoto Urabe. She's she's my waifu right there, best girl. I got a poster of her. Don't ask why. I didn't buy it. I promise. It was gifted to me. But
Gifted in quotes.
she's the best girl. And then as they continue throughout the series, they have like their two main best friends that they like consolidate in and that they talk to like about their relationship a bit. Although one of them doesn't even know about their relationship. So Tsubaki's friend is Koihei Ueno. Ueno. I forgot how to pronounce his
Ueno.
last name, but that's fine.
I'm pretty sure it's Ueno.
Yeah. Which, fun
In
fact,
the anime, it's Ueno.
I was looking up a picture of him to put in our show notes. Turns out Kohei Ueno is also the name of a Japanese saxophonist.
Is that why you? I was really confused on like why you put that like next to his name. And I was like, was he a saxophonist in the anime or like the manga? And I just never
Nope,
got that.
he shares the name of a real life Japanese saxophonist. So I thought that
Dang.
was pretty neat. And then
That saxophonist must be proud to be inside Mysterious Girlfriend.
Elliot, his name will forever be eternalized, not as a Japanese saxophonist, but as Tsubaki's best friend.
Yes.
And then Urabe's kind of friend in the show is Ayuko Oka, which I hate her. I hate her character
I
so
liked her.
much. I feel like this is a hot take, but I found her character so annoying. I hate it so much. And
Okay.
as
I like actually did like her. Like, yes, sometimes I'm like, why we doing this? Like, do we need to fill in my limited time? Like, watching her be kinda bitchy, but also comedic relief that isn't just Ueno.
I don't know if I would call her comedic relief. Like, I definitely feel like I am a minority in saying that I hate her character, but I hate her character, and we'll get into why as we progress through the story.
Okay. Yeah, no, Jared actually like analyzes this. I only saw surface level is what I'm getting at right now.
I wouldn't say I've analyzed it, but it is my favorite series of all time. So I have opinions.
True. You looked at like the fandom wiki and everything beforehand, just
No,
like
I didn't. I just
reading up on the lore.
no, I just quickly thumbed through first 3 volumes of the manga, which I have right next to me if I need to find something specific.
You write references.
But yeah, before like I get into the actual story of the series, just know that when I was first telling Zach about this anime so he could watch it, I described it to Zach as a quirky romance anime or quirky romance comedy, which I think fits it very well because it is very quirky.
I was not ready. Well, I think you like introduced it as that, and then you were like, real quick, there's a lot of drool. Wait, no, you didn't even tell me about the drool. I feel like I stumbled upon that myself trying to search up the name.
Maybe.
And I was like, what is happening here? Do I really want to see this?
I don't know. Did you enjoy it?
Wasn't bad, but as you say, like, I liked Oka. You did not like Oka.
I mean, I could definitely see it not being for everyone, but it's pretty good. So, when the when the first volume and the anime open with a line like, "When a boy learns about sex for the first time, he's sure to wonder what kind of girl his first partner will be." You know you're in for a treat. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
But Zach, as our residential virgin, who do you think your first girl is gonna be?
Was this what you texted me about?
Yes. We might have to cut that out.
Sorry, repeat the question.
We might have to cut that out, but that's okay.
Yeah. As y'all just figured out, Jared loves to like brag about his sex life.
I do not.
over my lack of sex life?
I do not. You're just.
Okay, but like, repeat the question.
I said, so Zach, who do you think, as our residential virgin, who do you think your first partner is gonna be?
How would I know?
What do
That's
you
somewhere
imagine her
like
to be like? What is?
who knows? Maybe spit will be involved.
We sure hope so. Okay. Well,
Oh no, actually, my answer is gonna be you, BB Boo.
shoot, you right. Oh god. Okay. So the pretty much the first episode of the anime is like the almost frame by verber. Oh my god. Frame by frame identical to the short he originally published, which it basically just starts off with introducing Urabe to the class because she's our new transfer student. We love the transfer student trope in anime. It's pretty
Oh
great.
yes, everywhere.
So she's our new transfer student, and she's immediately like signed as an outcast, which you can kind of see from her character because her hair like is very long. It's not very long, but she has bangs, and the bangs are pretty long. They cover her eyes, which actually
They be cute though.
they are pretty. Which actually her hair is one of the major differences between the original short and the official manga because once he started publishing it as a manga, he went back and redesigned the characters a little bit. Although I will say Tsubaki doesn't really change. Urabe is the only one with like major character differences, and it's mostly her hair because like before it was a lot longer and like straight. Whereas if I don't know if you pulled it up, but if you see the picture of her that I put there, it's a lot shorter and it like curls in more and also sticks out a little bit more. So it's not as
Yeah, it's very messy.
it's not as straight as what he originally designed her to be. So, like I said, when she is first introduced to the class, she's immediately like assigned as an outcast because she's weird, and like apparently we don't like weird girls, and you know
That's a fat
we
lie.
don't stand for
like,
that.
Weird girls.
Weird girls are the
You're
best.
Right. we hate normal girls. It's only the
We
weird
don't like
ones.
normality here. Get out.
At the Gym Trash podcast, we would never.
Never. We wouldn't assign her to the weird group because we are that weird.
Yeah, that's why you're here,
Exactly. So one of the major instances that like seals her fate of being weird is during, I think it was their math class. I can't remember for sure. I just know it was during one of the class periods while she was sleeping because she does that a lot. She like randomly just bursts into a fit of laughter and just falls on the floor,
right?
which so great. Gotta say.
Really is.
Yeah. Um, but like whenever she's asked why she did that, she just refuses to give an answer, and everyone just thinks that's so weird. But you as the reader or watcher of the anime will learn later why she doesn't really say it, because she does say it's very personal, which to be fair, kinda is.
I do not remember this. You're gonna have to like catch
That's
me up to
okay.
speed.
I'm basically gonna go chapter by chapter, so I
That's
do
fine.
skip some
We'll get to
chapters
it
because
at
they're
some
not as
point.
important, or I feel they aren't as important to the story, but we'll get to them.
Like the little slice of life chapters.
Yeah.
Who needs them?
Basically, I'm just gonna hit the main points of like the relationship, mostly, and like anything else that I feel like is weird or we might want to talk about. So after that, it kind of not flash forwards a little bit, but speeds up through the day. I don't know if it's the same day or a different day. I would have to assume it's maybe the different day because they do
Wait, for
talk
what?
about like how she falls asleep in class a lot, which is understandable because she does. Um, but at the end of this like specific school day, Tsubaki sees her. He's walking by the classroom and he sees that she's still sleeping on her desk. So like any good student or classmate would. he goes to wake her up because who wants to spend the night at school? We don't like school. Get out of that place as fast as you can.
Yeah,
But when he wakes
they're
her up,
haunted.
remember that quote? Drool sleeping? You betcha.
Which one? Let me bring it up. Don't you think a girl who drools when she falls asleep is cute?
Hell yeah,
Well,
dude.
this is the comic for that.
Because whenever he wakes her up and she lifts up that face, not only can he like fully see her face because her hair's out of the way, which he's like, oh, she pretty cute.
True. He swooned.
Very swooned.
My man, Tsubaki.
He
He
like
like,
heart pumping out of the chest. Got that kind of look on his
you're right.
eyes.
You know, like the Tom and Jerry type of.
That's exactly what I was referring to. But not only that, she's got just a small puddle of spit on her desk where she was
We love
sleeping.
girls who drool.
And I'm sure they did this on purpose because we have an instance of something that would be comparable to it later, which we'll get into like at the end of the episode. But her, or like end of our episode, not the episode because this is way later than that. But her spit is like shown as very glistening and yellow, which I probably should have said trigger
like
warning if any of you don't like spit, but oh well.
We're too far into this for y'all to leave now.
You're a whole 17
We've
minutes
said
in,
this
maybe,
stuff.
depending on how much we cut out.
You really
so
are.
you're stuck now. Yeah, and I don't know. This is like the biggest what the fuck of the episode of the series. But this man, without a second thought in his mind, sticks his finger in it and just goes home.
Okay, like every time it shows Urabe's like drool, like the way it's like yellow and like it's really thick, like it's like honey.
Yeah,
But for some reason, like can't imagine it tasting like honey. For some reason, I think it tastes like melon or something, and I don't know why.
Since the series is sort of like about that like blossoming sexuality, I would have to assume it's like metaphorical for like nectar of the flowers because they do show off flowers a lot, and they're talking about sex, so it's probably supposed to be symbolic towards nectar, which it's sweet, which we'll get into as well. Because this man,
Sure, this whole anime is just about them wanting to fuck. I'm joking.
You're right. Will they ever fuck? I'll let you know. Just not right now. So
tune into the Gym Chat podcast.
Right.
And you'll figure out.
So when after he decides to take his daily dose of spit, I guess maybe he has a fetish. We ain't gonna kink shame him. Not yet, anyways.
Maybe later on.
He remarks that it is very sweet, which if you ever tasted drool, hopefully you haven't tasted anyone else's drool in that capacity. Like, sure, you could taste your own, or if you kiss someone, fair. But drool ain't sweet. It got no flavor. So clearly,
Jared,
he's whack.
Jared knows from experience.
Maybe. Anyways, after his little experiment, shall we say, his experimentation with stuff, he starts being more and more absent for class. And any rational-minded person would think, oh, well, you tasted some random girl spit. Who knows what kind of illnesses she has? You best go to the hospital.
You got the Rona?
Maybe. This is our PSA. Don't lick random people spit during the Rona. You're gonna get Rona.
Especially during Rona.
Yeah. So, Urabe, because she knows what's going on,
apparently she has experience.
Well, no, she doesn't.
It's never actually shown, but
she doesn't have experience. That's the thing. So, I don't know how she just knew about this. But she goes to visit.
This life of God's told her.
You're right. But she goes to visit Tsubaki after class one day because she's like, "You tasted my spit, didn't you?" And he's like, "What? How'd you know?"
Bitch, no.
And then she drops some knowledge on him. She says, "You're not sick. You're lovesick." Oh, man, fell in
She
love.
knows what's up.
And she does like specifically note that he probably or asked if he fell in love with her whenever he woke her up that day after class because he had that swooning face whenever she
Yeah,
picked up
he
her
saw her
face.
eyes. First time anyone has ever seen her
Yeah,
eyes, and I
first
know
time we
that's how
see
you
her
fall in
eyes,
love with
first
people.
time any character in the series sees it.
No, it works as it does to the real world. If I make eye contact with you, I immediately love you.
Exactly. That's why you got to keep your eyes down at all time. Like, come on now,
Yeah, you look at
you
the
can't be
floor.
falling in love with anyone. Yeah.
Only that one special
Yep.
person.
So what she does is what any rational person would do. You got to give them more spit. That's the only way to make them feel better.
Oh yeah,
So,
you're right.
so you just gotta.
And she does this by force, doesn't she? Doesn't she just like lick finger, immediately stick it in his mouth?
Yeah, I think she does. I'm pretty sure she just.
Is your withdrawal over?
He's wearing his mask because he's sick, and I'm pretty sure she just pulls down his masks and pulls down his mask and slams his finger in his mouth. Which,
Heck yeah. We love these type of girls.
yeah, we love straightforward girls who get to the point. But yeah, that's basically what happens. And then, of course, the very next day, he's all better. He's back at school, chumming it up with Ueno.
Urabe still sleeping?
Yep, still sleeping in class. But now, every day after class, since they kind of live in the same direction, they started a daily routine of Urabe sticking her finger in the mouth and giving it to Tsubaki to suck on. Because we gotta make sure he doesn't miss any school.
Oh, you're right. Gotta keep him away from the withdrawal.
Exactly. Withdrawals. Spit withdrawals. They dangerous. That's why we don't go
As
tasting random
any
spit.
experienced person would know. Once you do it, you never go back.
Exactly. It's the world's most addictive drug.
You right? Your crush is spit.
Exactly.
You know, to be honest, sorry, this is weird. If that happened to me, I do not know how I would react.
If
But
you tasted some girl's spit, or if somebody tasted your spit,
no, I would not go voluntarily dip my finger in someone's saliva and like, yum.
you wouldn't go,
You know?
Peace de resistance.
Yeah, but like, what would you do if like your girlfriend, like, if she just licked finger and immediately stuck it in your mouth? How would you react? Would you be disgusted? I feel like we wouldn't be disgusted, but more just like, what is
Confused.
happening? And how do
What
I
did you
react
just
to this?
do? Like, why? Like, this is not
True.
something you just randomly do, but okay.
Some people are like that. It is what it is.
I mean,
We're not gonna
I
keep
guess so. But anyways, uh, so there's this routine of theirs. That's I'm not. I can't remember exactly, and I don't feel like looking through the manga, even though it's right next to me. I don't remember if it goes on for a couple days or if it's like the first day they're doing it. But Tsubaki, this boy, he's like, "Hey, I love you.
I love you.
Go out with me."
Oh, I think this was like a while after. This was like a couple weeks after of just walking over and over again.
But anyways, after Tsubaki asks her out, she hits him with that hard no. She goes, you thought I was in love with you? Psych." She,
I'm only here because you got addicted on my spin. I don't want
exactly, and that's the end of the story right there. Cut frames to black.
The end. The Gym Chats podcast, episode 1.
All
over.
right, thank you. Join us next week, next month. I don't know.
Maybe next year. We're not sure yet.
No, okay. So no, she says no, but she's like, "I'll go out with you only if you show me proof that you love me." Which, like, at that point, I love you, Urabe, but you asking for too much.
True. You asking for a dude to just like be straightforward, conveying his feeling. He ain't doing
Yeah.
that.
So like in the anime, and I'm pretty sure he does it in the manga too. But he thinks about it for a second and is like, "I have to show you I love you." So what he tries to do is he tries to kiss her, which, like, sure, that's fine, I guess. I mean, maybe don't just go kissing random strangers to try to show them you love them.
Yeah, that's harassment. Don't do that. But even better, what's coming up?
So what he does is he pulls out his wallet because she's like, "Stop! No, that's too conventional. I don't like it. You got to do something that's truly special to you and I." So what he does is he pulls out his wallet because yeah, he carries around a picture of his middle school crush.
We
He
love these type of
he a little
people.
crazy. Like I don't even carry pictures in my
And
wallet. But yeah.
all he does was just, here you go. This is my middle school crush. Exposition.
So he pulls it out, and it's of Hayakawa. I
Hayakawa?
I
Hayakawa?
don't remember. I'm not gonna try. I'm not. I'm a fan. I love the series. I'm not gonna try to pronounce their names properly.
Yeah, you
You
should know
get it.
the like two.
The two. I know the main
Well, I
one
guess
that matters, and that's Urabe. Mikoto Urabe. Only one that matters.
true.
Anyway,
The person we fangirl over.
so he pulls out the picture, and in the manga, by this point, we've already seen the panty scissors, which we'll get into. But in the anime, we haven't. So he just tears it up normally. But in the manga, he asks Urabe for his scissors, and he cuts it up, and then he throws it over the railing. Because up until that point, that was Hayaka, whatever. That was the girl.
Middle school
Yeah,
crush.
that was the girl that he was like obsessed with and in love with for the longest time. So he's showing her.
Also, PSA. Oh yeah, sorry. PSA. If you're gonna cut up the picture of your middle school crush, don't just throw it over the railing off a bridge into the
That's
street, because
that's
that's
littering. We don't do that.
Don't do
We don't
that.
condone that
We don't
here.
condone.
We may be the gym trash podcast, but we don't condone throwing your trash out anywhere.
Yeah.
So, anyways, he releases the picture over the scraps of the picture over the railing, and he's like, "That you see that? I mean, he shows her first, but you see that? That shows that I no longer love that girl. Instead, Urabe, I love you. So will you go out with me?" And
Okay, like if I don't know what I would do if I was in Urabe's position. Like
well, I'll tell
if
you what
someone
she
like
does.
confessed. Oh yeah, but like if someone confessed their love to me, right? Like by showing me the picture of the crush they had like 3 years ago. Actually, I don't know what grade they are. I assume they're like
I'm pretty sure
17.
there's freshmen, or like our definition of freshmen in high school.
Yeah, like first year.
Yeah, they're first years. Because what, Japanese high school only goes up to 3 years? Don't quote me on
Yeah.
that.
Okay, but like even if it's like a year, you know, like if someone confessed their love to me, and then the next thing they do is show me a picture of like their old crush and cut it up, I would still feel like, the fuck you have an old picture of your crush for?
Like, if that isn't
That's not
setting off
creepy.
some sort of red flags, you might need some help.
Gotta, yeah.
But anyways, this anime isn't supernatural by any means, but for some reason, Mr. Ricci decided to make Urabe like explode with spit out of her mouth.
Yeah.
So if you end up
It's a
reading
lot
or
of spit.
reading it ain't that bad. If you end up watching the anime, just if you don't like spit, at this point, trigger warning. Just know there's a lot of spit. And like the way they explain this is they don't. They just say that it happens randomly whenever she's really happy. And like throughout the entire series, I think it only happens 3 or 4 times. So like Tsubaki, you clearly ain't making her very happy if it only happens 3 or 4 times. It might be more, but that's all I remember at the moment.
Yeah. If you're one for explanations on why weird stuff's happening, I don't think you can get through this. Because they explain nothing.
This is true. I mean, not really. No, they don't. So, anyways, after this, she accepts him as her boyfriend. They start dating. Flash forward a couple weeks or days. I don't really remember. I don't think they explicitly say it, but time has passed in their relationship. Mr. Tsubaki, he's in sad boy times. You want to know why he's in sad boy times?
I want to know why
Because he's getting as much action as you, Zach, and that action is none. They haven't done anything in their relationship besides their spit routine, and he's like, but you my girlfriend. Why ain't we doing dating things?
Me at people that I just have crushes
That's
on.
kind of sad. So in
Okay, like, not gonna lie, out of all the people listening to this, maybe Zai probably don't know like anything about us. Who knows who's watching this? It might just only be Zai. Like, sometimes I'm like, how did Jared get the action before any other person in our group?
honestly, I don't know how I have game, but I have game apparently,
But you do.
and I ain't complaining. Just putting that out there.
True. It's the gateway to being able to taste spit.
This is true. So in the anime, this is where we like this is our introduction to the panty scissors. And let me tell you, the panty scissors, they're here to stay. And let me tell you, spectacular. So in the anime, with his sad boy times, he while they're walking home after their routine, he tries to hug Urabe from behind, and like she does not take kindly to that, sir. She somehow, again, not a supernatural anime. She's just they just explain it as her being very athletic. She somehow jumps out of his arms. Not actually, maybe she ducks. I'm pretty sure she ducks. Scratch that. She ducks. And then she whips up her
Maybe.
skirt. And in the anime, this is the best thing ever because like how hardcore rock music is playing throughout any time she uses her scissors. And tucked into her panty line, like panties, is a pair of scissors that she twirls out, and like super speed cuts around his like body outline. And every time she does it, there's something behind him. I think
Like a bush or like a cardboard. I think a bush was.
I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure during the first time it's a bush. So after she's done and like she retucks the scissors back in, the bush behind him does like just falls, and it's just an outline of him like cowering in fear, being stabbed by scissors.
It's another Tom and Jerry trope, you
Is
know?
there, which I think is hilarious. But like after that, she asks why he tried hugging her, but tells him to never throw her arms around her without her permission, which is going to be like a recurring thing a couple times throughout the series. And there's some
To all
payoff.
dudes out there, to all dudes out there, just don't do that either. No one likes
Yeah,
that.
don't just try to hug people. It's a little weird. Respect people's private space, personal spaces. But like, there is some payoff to this recurring. I guess I'd call it a bit. Maybe it's a joke, but there's some payoff. We'll get to that later. So he's like, "Hey, girl, you and I, thing, right?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's it." And he's like, "Well, it don't feel like it. Like we haven't been
I
doing
don't feel
anything."
like a thing.
I love the finger thing.
The little like, oh, I don't know how to describe this. Like
The
everyone knows
two
what we're
pointer
doing. So
fingers
like,
together.
yeah, you know, like the two finger guns together, sad face. Those emojis. It's basically that.
Yeah. So I can't remember if he asks for like proof of their like the relationship. I'm pretty sure he doesn't. He just gets real sad and goes into the fetal position, which he does right there. I'm showing Zach. Y'all can just imagine it.
Y'all, yeah, just imagine like, oh wait, it's Tsubaki in the fetal
Yeah,
position.
it's Tsubaki in the fetal
Just
position.
imagine just him on ground, cowering,
And she's
because
like,
he has no love life.
"What's wrong, you little bitch? What's wrong?"
Gee boy,
Yeah.
tell me what's up.
Yeah, if you ever watch the abridged version, it's pretty funny. Like they give Urabe such a manly, raspy voice, and I love it. So 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Watch the abridged version, but after you watch the actual version. So she explains to him, or tries to explain to him, that she doesn't need to like show affection through conventional means, and that instead they have a bond, like they're a bond through their spit, through their drool. She refers to it as a bond of drool. So what she does to prove it, I'm like, this is pretty wild. She takes him or like around the park or like some back alley way to
Yeah, they go to like some weird like
yeah,
abandoned.
she takes him to an abandoned building. It's like very run down. There's cockroaches, ants, decomposing walls, even though they don't decompose, they're like all torn down. There's just a random chair in there, which sure, maybe someone left the chair. Maybe it's
She's gonna murder him.
that's the true end of the story. Sorry.
You're
No, she
right.
props up the chair and tells him to take a seat. Tells him to sit his whiny ass down and to close his eyes and not open it, and that if he opens his eyes, he's dead, and that's how he dies.
Murder room. End of story.
No,
Part two.
so she strips down to absolutely nothing. She's by her ass naked because that's a thing
Animes just love doing that.
anime does. They just love unnecessary nudity, but we here for it, maybe. Only if it's legal. Only if it's legal.
Is it legal though? They are high school students.
They are high school
So
students. We are no longer high
if they're
school
first year, they'd
students.
be underage. Yeah, so like us reading it, us watching it, don't know if that's allowed.
That's what censorship is for. Anyways, this is like our first instance of her like truly explaining the power of drool or bond, which we're gonna see this throughout the series multiple times. But she gives him her spit, and immediately his nose just gushes out blood. And like that's a common anime trope is whenever guys see something that makes them excited, aroused, they just start bleeding through the nose, which like
Yeah, because they can't show
I
boners.
mean, I guess not. Instead, they gotta show some blood. And he's like, "What the heck? Why is my nose bleeding?" And all she says is that the spit was made when she was in a state of excitement, which yeah, I guess.
I guess if you're like butt naked in an abandoned building with like the person you do call your boyfriend, but really, are you really? You're gonna be slightly aroused.
Yeah. So this basically explains that through the drool, they can express unsaid like emotions, thoughts, or in some cases, see visions. Um, yeah. So from there, this is where we get a little risque, which I'm only going to touch on it briefly because it's not too important. But basically, that night, Tsubaki has a sex dream of her, which, I mean, understandable. As a teenage boy, understandable. They happen.
True, who hasn't?
Um, but yeah, so one of like the major points of his sex dream is that for whatever reason, maybe Tsubaki's into some kinky stuff, but everybody's got a doll strapped to
Well,
her
he
head.
drinks. He like licks her drool. Like, of course he's into kinky stuff.
You got a point. But yeah, there's a doll strapped to her head, and whenever they're walking home from school that day, he's visually flustered. So she's like, "Hey, what's up with you?" So she tries to spit, and she sees the dream he had, and that just further explains that they can convey things to each other. And she's like, "Hey, you're free to fantasize about whatever you want, but when it's time to do the deed, I ain't strapping a doll to my head." So poor Tsubaki ain't.
That's the only weird part
Yep. So
about
poor
that.
Tsubaki
It's
ain't
just
gonna
the
live
doll.
out his fantasies.
Yeah, sad.
So from there, in the anime, Tsubaki has more interaction with Ueno, like during the bits that I just explained. I'm not gonna try to compare the anime to the manga too much, but I'm gonna point out like noticeable things. One of which is that in the anime, Tsubaki has more interaction with Ueno, and Ueno is like the one that tries to like that it gives him advice to like, oh hey, couples should do X thing, couples do this, couples do that, which Tsubaki tries to do prior to Urbe showing the bond of drool. So that's just something to keep in mind. But at this point, or at this point in the manga, they like fully introduce Ueno and Oka, and one of our first full instances of seeing them is Tsubaki catching them in the classroom kissing, which just a fun thing to note. The main protagonists that we're looking at are dating, and both of their like main friends within the series are dating. So that's a little interesting nod. Um,
Yes.
but after this, after Tsubaki sees this, he's like, I want to get me some of that. Not of Ueno or of Oka, but he wants to kiss Urabe, which is something.
Hey, if he wanted to get with Ueno, I ain't mad.
We're in 2021. Come on now.
True, we can't judge.
Yeah. So obviously he'd feel jealous if he sees his friend that he didn't even know was dating, kissing their girlfriend, whereas he's in like several weeks in or maybe a month in with his relationship, and they haven't even held hands. I don't think at this point.
No, they barely hugged. Well, actually, I don't think they have hugged.
No, because she unleashed the panty scissors.
Yeah.
So
You know,
go ahead.
like she said, like, don't hug me without my permission. Why not just ask if he can hug her and then just hug her? That's never
You're
happened.
right. He doesn't do that. He should have done. Stupid idiot.
Yeah, Tsubaki.
Come on, man.
Tsubaki, be smart.
Come on. So, anyways, he brings that up with Orbit, and she's like, I don't know. Instead, she pulls out a test tube out of her school bag. Like, okay, didn't know
As one does.
we're just carrying around test tubes now. And she thinks for a second because she's trying to make some special spit, and then she spits it into the test tube and tells him, "Before you go to bed, drink this." Which
That's not weird.
Not at all. I mean, at this point, really that weird? Not really. So, of course, that night he drinks the test tube and he has a dream about them kissing. But the way that happens in his dream is she's eating some candy and she's like, "Hey, you want some candy?" And he's like, "Sure." So she steps in front of him and then transfers the candy to him through a kiss, which gets him all bent out of shape because he's like, "Hey, that was our first kiss. I wanted it to be something special." So then he wakes up with the realization that, oh, hey, I don't want to have a first kiss just because I'm jealous of my two friends. I want it to be during a special time. So, like, go Tsubaki and Urabe, I guess. If that's something for you, make it special. But personally, I don't see like the aspect of it being special. That's just me, though. But after that, Urabe's like,
Jared's just bragging about his successful relationship.
shut up. No, my first kiss was so awkward.
Really? Was it with Zoe?
No, it was 8th grade year.
Cheyenne.
No, the girlfriend before Cheyenne.
You had one before Cheyenne?
Yes, we dated 6 months, and our first
Okay.
kiss was at a school dance. It was so awkward. And we're cutting that out, most
Hey,
likely.
the environment was
Yeah.
there.
So Urabe's like, thank you for realizing that I don't want our first kiss to be rushed, and things are good for time being. Ooh. And then we move on to one day during class when they're doing their cleaning duties because suckers in Japan gotta clean the classrooms. And Urabe is going to take out the trash, and Tsubaki spots a boy, right? And this boy, he giving Urabe the look up and down. He's checking her out, which
Oh, I forgot about this.
yep. Which at that point he only in it for Urabe's body because like Urabe don't do nothing in the class.
All she do is sleep.
Exactly. But
Hey, but sleepy girls be cute.
sometimes. But anyway,
But also get to know her personality.
yes.
Big
Life
thing.
advice with
No one likes it.
Gym Trash Podcast.
Don't just like catcall a girl. Get to know her, or else no one's gonna love you.
Ooh, you're gonna be lonely and alone. You're gonna be lonely like Zach. Don't be like Zach.
Hey, okay, I'm lonely, but it's not because I can't call people. I do the opposite. I don't do anything to try to get
if
anyone.
you say so. So, anyways, he follows her to the incinerator because schools just have incinerators now. Nothing sketchy about that. And I didn't make a note to mark down his name because it's not that important. I don't think he comes up again. And if he does, he's like
Uh,
not that important of a character. But he confesses to her and asks her out. And as a reader, you're thinking, sorry, bloke, how are you going to show her your love? But instead, she's like,
Ooh,
hmm,
let's try
let me
it.
think on that. I'll get back to you tomorrow. So she this reasoning gets explained very easily. Um, but when Tsubaki finds out, of course he's jealous, or not jealous, but like I guess you could say jealous. So of course he's jealous because like who wouldn't be if your girlfriend got asked out or your boyfriend got asked out by another person and they didn't immediately say no. They said, "Let me think about it." Like, come on now. Don't do that to your significant other. That's just cruel. But we find out her reasoning is because she wants to test Tsubaki and her's bond to something else. So her way to do that is to go to school without any underwear because she gotta be in an excited state. And let you be known, the day she decides to do that, it's windy as hell. So the entire
Because of course it
because of
is.
course it is. So the entire day she's holding down her skirt, trying not to flash the world. And then so we come to her or her like answer to dude bro. She just tells him to close her eyes and sticks her finger in his mouth, as anyone would.
As one does.
So unsurprisingly, nothing happens. So she's like, "Sorry, bloke, you ain't got no chance of being my boyfriend. Hit the road."
True. He had the most normal reaction to
He's
it.
like, "What?"
He was just like, yeah, he was like, why is there a finger
No,
in
he
my
didn't
mouth?
ask
Like,
why there was
he's
a finger in his mouth. He said, "What did you do?"
not why. Yeah. Maybe he's still kind of weird for not questioning it as much, but
But at
like,
least he
he's the
questioned
most
what.
normal out of all the people.
Yeah, at least he questioned what she did. So after she like rejects him, this is where there's a I wouldn't say a major difference in the anime versus manga, but they touch on the summer a bit earlier in the manga, but the summer isn't too important. It's just them continuing their routine throughout the summer, and it includes another sex dream, but this time it's Uribe's, and she's like, I guess girls are perverted too. Which, like, okay,
That's
newsflash
funny.
if you didn't know that already. So
um,
now we get to, and like, this is probably why they didn't include it in the anime because it's just that one scene, and then they're back at school. So it didn't have that much influence on the story. But now we get to Oka, and now for my hot take, Oka, she's an annoying bitch. Just
hey,
saying. Because she is so pushy and she
true.
butts her head into anything and everything when like Oka does not concern you. Get out.
True, I feel bad for Ueno. Everyone knows about this now except him.
This is true. So the reason they introduce Oka is because during a track meeting, um, not a track meeting, but gym class, they're running relay races, and Uribe gets tripped by someone unintentionally. Although it does look intentional, it's unintentional.
That's what I was about to say. Like, when I first watched the anime, I was like, are they bullying her?
Yeah, it doesn't make it clear, but it is unintentional. And she like busts up her knee. So Oka, trying to be Uribe's friend, because Uribe already said, "I don't need friends, get away from me." Which, go Uribe. We don't like Oka. She takes her.
Yeah, we don't need friends.
Hmm? She takes Urve to the nurse's office because Oka is apparently the class like health person. Which okay,
Health representative.
yeah, that makes sense. And while they're there, they're patching Urve up, and then they share a drink. Which, of course, on drinks you got spit.
Indirect.
And what do you know? After sharing a drink with Urve, Oka gets the exact same wound on her knee. So is Urve a lesbian? Does she love Oka deep down?
Okay. Like this is when it gets confusing, and like even though everything else was like weird, like maybe you can kind of forget logic and you're like, yeah, sure, emotions can be transferred through spit, but somehow physical wounds are now being transferred through this spit.
Yeah,
And they explain it not at all,
yeah.
right? They're just like, that's how it is.
And like explaining Tsubaki and Urbe's bond through spit as being like of an expression of makes sense. But then when you try to introduce other relationships, which this isn't the only spit bond that they introduce into this story, but this is the only one that doesn't make sense because Urbe wants nothing to do with Oka. So is it a one-sided bond or what?
True, because like Mr. Mans that just got rejected without knowing why or like what was happening. Like it didn't affect him at all. So why is it affecting Oka?
Which
They don't explain
it's
this.
weird. So Urbe, like after seeing that, like puts a stern rejection on her, saying, "I only need one special person in my life. So you go away," which doesn't work, as we'll find out. After this, they continue on through the story. They touch on the film club a little bit, which I actually like because it does come into play a lot later, and it does come into play in an interesting way. But it kind of just introduces the fact that Tsubaki and Urbe have set up like certain hand signals that mean stuff. Um, and one of the ones he creates, because why not, is like the snipping of scissors to represent that he's talking to another girl, but Urbe is the one that he loves the most, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, don't they have like a hand signal for like to signal her to go home
Yeah, it's
beforehand?
him like pulling on his ear. Which I feel like is still kind of funny because you have to like tap her desk so she looks up and then you do something weird. So I feel like other
Yeah,
people
so
could pick up
why
on it.
not just tell her? Yeah, because she's already asleep.
Yeah,
So
but I just wanted to mention that because this the the film club does come into play later, and it introduces something that does show up throughout the series, which is the hand symbols. So that's something to note. Um, something that does happen in the manga, which isn't really important, so I'm not gonna like go too in depth on it. But Tsubaki gets a normal sickness, and Oka like tells Urbe of how Ueno got sick, and she
uh
basically just showed herself to Ueno in a swimsuit, and the next day he was all better. So Urbe tries this on Tsubaki and it works, which doesn't make too much sense. But she doesn't like show him through conventional means. She sticks her finger in his mouth because, of course, and he gets like all warm. So not sure how that works. They don't really explain it, but there's that.
it's less weird than the physical wounds just culminating on someone else because of the
That's true.
spit.
So the ending of Volume One is actually the ending of the anime, which is a little interesting because it still carries the first season still carries through Volume Two and Three. But the way the first volume ends is they're visiting Tsubaki's mom's grave, and they trade spit on the grave because that's something you do,
La.
which is interesting. But now we move on to Volume Two, and we're already at an hour. Love.
We are.
So we pick up in Volume Two, and Oka, she's still being a bitch. So, Oka, the reason she keeps being a bitch is because, well, for one, she kind of messed up Uribe's classroom routine by feeding her one day because she like not forcefully, but like she decided to sit next to her on her desk while eating lunch. So now Uribe is getting hungry during lunch when prior she did not used to. So now she's like having or Uko's having to feed her, which kind of gives her an in. And then she keeps comparing her relationship to Tsubaki and Uribe's relationship with, because Oka does know about them, and she keeps comparing the relationship. Which, don't compare your relationship. That's just kind of a low blow. And one of the things that she does that I do not like, which is kind of ironic because Uribe does the same thing, but she like forces her finger into Uribe's mouth with spit in order to further like compare the relationship, which kind of a dick move, but whatever. So they take a break from the school setting, and they go, and Tsubaki runs into Oka outside of class, and this is when they like point out that she's real short, but she got a very curvy body, which
Because that's all dudes care about in animes, apparently.
apparently. But they get onto the topic of first names, because that's a thing in Japan. You don't call people by their first name unless you're like very friendly with them. It's a respect. But here in America, it's weird to just go around calling people by their last names.
Yeah, if I called you Machado the whole time.
That's weird.
Also, like at school, the amount of like Smiths you're gonna run
That
into.
is true. You do have a lot of common last names in America. So, not Urube. Tsubaki, again, gets jealous of not being called by his first name. So he decides to call Urube by her first name, which is Mikoto, which we already know by now. And when he calls her by her first name, he sees a reaction, but he tries to do it again, which I think is the funniest thing ever. He does it and looks over to see her staring at him, and he's like, me. Funniest thing ever. So
You gotta watch it to understand why this is so funny, or read it. I think
watching
it's
it
better,
is
though.
better, yeah. But he cowards out, which is understandable. She has like a steely eyes. It's pretty funny. So after this is like an one of something that happens a lot in Slice of Life and just in general. It's the beach episode. We love
Oh,
beach
we
episode,
love the beach episode.
but we specifically love this beach episode because Urve, she's tan. She got them tan lines. And tan lines,
We love tan lines.
piece de resistance.
True, tan lines be pretty
We
cute.
do love
Unless
tan
they're
lines.
like on dudes and like farmers tan.
Not farmer
That's a
tans,
different
no. You gotta
story.
be like full on tan and then have like the tan lines of white. Those tan lines.
Yeah.
Those are the best tan lines. For anyone wondering. That's our opinion on tan lines. But like nothing notable happens during this time. I just think one of the funniest parts is when they're swimming. Tsubaki can't keep up at all because he's not athletic. And while they're swimming, he like starts staring at her legs. Which, Zach, you get this. You got a thing for legs.
True, legs are like great.
I don't understand
Like,
it.
if you
but
don't agree,
sure.
I don't know. There's something about legs.
So like he's swimming along, just staring at her legs, and then she stops to get up.
But he's too
But
infatuated.
he's too far
For the
gone,
thick
just staring at
thighs.
those legs. So he's still underwater, just staring. And she's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And this man got a smooth recovery because he's like, "That skirt, you got a pretty interesting pattern." But in his mind, he's like, "Shit." But at the same time, he wants her to take the skirt off because, like, he wants to see it all. If you know what I mean. And she's like, "Oh yeah, the skirt, it's pretty cool. Usually I don't wear it swimming, but I went out to the beach with my dad, and I got a tan line because I kept the scissors in my swimsuit."
Why? Who knows?
No one was on the beach. You can carry around scissors at that point. And then we see quite possibly the best tan lines in anime because she opens the skirt and we see the tan line of the scissors.
We'll have a like a picture of this in the show
We'll just
notes
leave it. We'll
for
just put a
y'all.
link to it, to the PNG of this in the show notes. Yeah, we can go ahead and do that
Y'all need to see the tan
to
line.
understand the tan line and appreciate it.
Yes.
Anyways, Tsubaki's love of legs just gets further explained or like delved into in the following chapters because we move on to the track team. And the track team, they want Urabe because she's a fast runner, which is unsurprising because they've already explained or tried to write off Urabe as being super athletic. She swims, she got the panty scissors, so clearly she's a track star. Like, come on now. And like Tsubaki at first is like, yeah, you should go ahead and do it. You know, you can make more friends that way. But in his mind, he's thinking, man, I don't want to give up our ritual. Which, I mean, he still tries to push for her to go to it because he doesn't want her to be a loner. But during or after a track meet one day, not one day, but like after school, she takes the locker name, his name off his locker and puts it on her leg, which we don't know at the time, but she knows. And when they're doing the ritual, she like tries to confirm with him that he wants her to join the track team because it means that they will no longer be able to walk home from school. So when he tastes her spit, he gets a big shit-eating grin, and she's like, "You're a liar, Tsubaki," and that smile proves it. Because your name is on my leg, and therefore, these legs, they're yours.
I did not get how this had to do with the track team at all. Like,
it's just to try to, it's just in there to add extra, I guess, but it's just, I don't know. I mean, we get to the track team later because of the sports festival, but this is just a little side piece for it, I guess. One thing of note, I wish I didn't have to note this, but one thing of note is that throughout the series, there's like hints of incest. It doesn't go anywhere.
what?
Did you?
I do not remember this.
Yeah, like one of the first instances is of Tsubaki focusing on his sister's drool one day, which is a little weird. But,
I remember
yeah,
that.
there's more stuff like it, but nothing ever happens, thankfully.
The sister is kind of cute,
I
though.
disagree, but okay. So one day, Tsubaki leaves the house and he's like, I wonder what's that way, knowing damn well that that way is Urabe's house. So he like wanders there and he gets in front of this giant complex and he's like, well, that's pretty snazzy. And then Urabe pulls up on her bike and is like, hey, what are you doing in front of my house, you weirdo? So
no, she's not actually like that. It's more just like, oh,
like, oh, hey, you're here. What are you doing? You want to come inside, have a cup of tea?
Not confused that like he just randomly showed up perfectly in front of his
yeah. So
her house.
He goes in for a spot of tea, you know, little Scott Pilgrim in there. Shout out to anyone who gets that.
I didn't get it.
Well, then you suck.
Gotcha.
So while he's in there, something that happened like the night prior, which is kind of like why he's like, I need to get out of the house and clear my head, is that he had a dream about touching Urabe's boobs, which she's got some big boobs in the series. That's something that's taken of note again later, which is important, not just weird, but I'll explain it later. So he starts thinking about it, and then in the anime, there's a thunderstorm, and like there's a big splash of thunder, and Urabe trips and falls, and Tsubaki catches her. But in the manga, it's an earthquake, and yeah, it's an earthquake, which was a little weird, but I mean, the outcome is still the same. but it's just the means by which they get there is a little different. So he ends up like catching her and hugging her on the floor with his hand on her like belly. And like a good 5 seconds of them sitting there, he's like, ah, yes, I should use this chance to touch her boob. Which, like, if you were gonna do that, like, first off, don't do that. But if you were going to do that, don't do it
Yeah, do it
five
while you're falling.
seconds after when you're like sitting there casually. Do it as it's happening, so it's not as weird. So clearly, so obviously, she notices him moving his hand because, like, come on now. First off, you're past the event happening, and second off, you've already been in that position for enough time to where it would be noticeable. So she catches him, and she's like, "The fuck you trying to do, boy?" Because who wouldn't be?
Nani?
So he explains it to her, and she's like, "Okay." So as any reasonable person would do, she sticks her hand in her shirt, touches her boob, gives him some spit, and it's like, how does that compare to your dream? And apparently it's more vivid, the feeling, which makes sense based on what we've already know and what we've been built to learn about their bond. And then she's like, all right, I'll give you 3 seconds. And by the time I'm counting down to 3, or once I'm done counting to 3, during that time frame, you can touch my boobs. And that's it. If you don't do it during those 3 seconds, no deal. Never happening again. So he's having an exponential crisis. He's like, do I do it? Do I not do it? Do I wait? She gets down to 3, the very last number, and he just like, bam, grabs it. But then he goes too far. And he pushes her down on the floor. And Tsubaki, maybe he's got an ear fetish too. Because he goes straight for that ear. And he licks the ear, which, sure, if you into that, you into that. But it's a little weird. And then he snaps back to reality. He realizes what he's done, and he sees that Urbe is crying, which isn't necessarily in a negative way. They don't fully explain it. The way they write it off is that in a relationship, your senses change. I don't get it. That's the one thing I don't, like, one of the one things I don't get. Because later she tells him to grab her ear. It's like, push it really hard. And she starts crying again. So sure, maybe she's into it. I don't know. It's not that important. It doesn't ever come up again.
We don't kink shame.
Yeah, it doesn't ever come up again, so it's not that important. But after which he runs away until the further explanation later. And then that's it. That's all. That's like pretty much all we ever hear of that. And then from there, and this is where things get a bit important. We start moving pace along. Because Urbe wakes up one day with a serious case of bedhead, which is very interesting considering what her normal hair looks like.
Yeah, her normal hair is already a mess.
Her normal hair is already bedhead. So to have bedhead on top of bedhead, you ain't doing something. You're doing something weird. So Oka offers to do her hair because apparently someone decided to bring a whole ass hair dryer and flat iron to school. Don't know why. So they just pop into the bathroom real quick and Oka does up Urbe's hair in some fancy manner. And the way she does it is basically pigtails, but since Urbe's hair is so short, it's basically just like pulling off her bangs off to the side to do little ponytails there. But all of a sudden, just because people can see her face now, Urbe becomes very popular with the dudes.
That's usually how it goes.
Sure. Like no one out front goes up to her and be like, "Hey, I want to ask you out now." But while they're like the boys are at gym, they start talking about it. They're like, "Hey, now that I can see Urbe's face, she's actually pretty cute." And this gets Tsubaki very upset, which I guess is understandable. But the day after, we find out that someone from the photography club, which again, I didn't mark down the character's name because not that important. He's not that important. He just comes up a couple times. But he took secret photos of Urbe. and now he's selling them for money. Like,
They're like $10 each.
I don't remember. Here, I can find out how I can give you the
Uh,
exact price.
like 1,000 yen.
I don't know. I'll put a timestamp. I'll look for it. Da, 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 da. I got it. He was selling them for 300 yen each.
Oh, so only like $3.
Yeah, but like, Mans was trying to make a living off selling pictures of
True, he
Urbe.
making bank.
And during that, like, ordeal, obviously finding out someone selling pictures of your girlfriend is not like the best thing for Tsubaki to find out. But someone
As it is.
makes the connection that Urbe looks like Imai Momoka, who is a idol. And they look identical. If you look at the picture I put under her name in the outline, they do look pretty much identical, except Imai has a little bit of like softer eyes and her hair color is different. And one of the important like defining characteristics they make between the two, which happens more in the idol arc, is that Urbe has a bigger bust and Imai Momoka has a smaller bust, which is important for identification later in the series.
We love that being the only identification.
Well, because Imai Momoka dyes her hair, so she looks identical.
True, it is brown, right?
Yeah. So after finding out that that there's an idol that looks like Urbe, Tsubaki buys her photo book because he wants to look at pictures of an idol that looks like his girlfriend, since he doesn't really have pictures of his girlfriend. And let me ask you,
Oh yeah, he did buy like the $3 photos because he didn't want to
out himself as being interested in Urbe.
Yeah.
But Ueno catches him buying this idol book, so he blabs to Oka, being like, "I think Urube's his type because he bought a photo book of Imai Momoka," which of course makes it back to Urube, and then Urube gets jealous because she asks to see the photo book, and whenever he shows her the photo book, she's like, "Okay, now show me your favorite picture," and then she whips out the panty scissors. And she cuts that book to smithereens and says, "You don't need to like, what's the word? Ogle? Is that the word?
Google?
I don't know. Basically, you don't need to like some idol. You're my boyfriend." Like, oh girl, she getting possessive. But let me ask.
But also, I get where she's coming from, you know?
Okay.
Or where she's coming from. Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was just about to ask you, is there some moral contention in that, like, if you're dating someone, do you buy a photo book of an idol or model that looks like your significant other?
I don't think I would. Because just like, it's kind of weird. You know? Like, even if they look like it, it's not your significant other. And of course, like, if your significant other's the jealous type.
And they find out you
like,
have a photo book of some stranger that looks like them,
yeah.
and you're doing who knows what with that photo book.
I feel like that's worse than like them finding like a porn mag like under your bed.
Because it's someone that looks like you, but it's not you.
Yeah.
So anyways, that happens. And now we get to the end of volume 2. And this is quite the end. Like, it's a cliffhanger.
It's twisty.
It's a whole pack. It's a whole pack to deal with. And it's probably where we'll end the podcast, because this went on a lot longer than I thought it would. I had a lot more to say. So we're probably going to have to end up cutting it up into 4 parts instead of the original, we thought, 2 parts?
2-part plan?
Or maybe 3 parts, because I was going to try to cover volumes 1 through 3, but it looks like I'm only going to get through the first 2. But the middle school crush comes back into play. And she does come back into play during the first volume. I just forgot to mention it. But it runs into Tsubaki while he's waiting for Urbe. And Urbe sees them talking and decides not to like go up to him to be like, "Hey, are you ready to go?" or something like that. Because her reasoning is that she didn't want to interrupt the conversation when he looked like he was enjoying himself, and he gets real
And you know when she says that, you know they're mad.
you know you fucked up.
Yeah.
Which Tsubaki gets real defensive, like, "Oh, he doesn't mean any. She doesn't mean anything to me anymore. You're the one I love." But during their interaction that time, she asked him to go to like a coffee shop to um, what's the word? Reconnect and like talk about things that happened during their lives between the couple months between end of middle school and where they are now in their first year of high school. And he asks Hervé, like, if I had gone, how would that have made you feel? Hypothetically, of course, because you know you can't be stepping on toes like that. So she gives him some of her spit, and he starts crying, and he's like, "Why am I crying?" And she explains to him that those are the tears that she would have cried if he had chosen her over herself. So like that's like a sign to Tsubaki that he shouldn't mess with her. But
so back to volume two.
That happened in volume 1. Just I was trying to catch up to speed what I forgot. My mistake. So now we're back to volume 2, and she comes back again, and this time,
she has a mission.
She does not yet.
Oh.
But a lot happens, and it's a cliffhanger for sure at the end of volume 2. So she comes back. She runs into Tsubaki as he's replacing the picture book that Hervé cut up, because you know, man's got to get his fix. But she cut her hair, and to her, the fact that he did not notice her even with the hair change shows her that he no longer cares about her, which to her she finds upsetting, because she just broke up with her boyfriend. And cut there because I forgot what I was saying. Yeah. So she just broke up with her boyfriend, and she's upset. She's clearly upset, and like, so she's trying to like cheer herself up, and she tries to do this through talking with Tsubaki. And they go to the park, and they're talking for a little bit, and Tsubaki reveals many embarrassing things about his interest in her. One of which is the fact that one day she left a hair on her desk, and he took it home in like one of those gotcha capsule balls, and he would just randomly smell it, even though I don't think one strand of hair would carry a scent of any kind.
I don't remember this at all.
Well, now you do, and you're welcome.
Thank you.
So they're
you ever just like find like your girlfriend's hair and you're just like,
I don't, but
big whiff.
I don't do that, but she does like to put her hair in my hair, which is pretty fun.
Interesting.
Yeah. So their conversation comes to an end, and she's like, "Can I talk to you again? Because this made me feel better. So can we meet up again later?" And he has, well, prior to this, just an FYI, she asked if he had a girlfriend, and he said no. Already red flag right there.
Tsubaki, why'd you do this like
so that? She asks him if they can meet up again, because it made her feel better, and she wants to see him again. He thinks about it for a second, and then he responds, "If you let me taste some of your drool."
Ooh, and that's the end of volume 2?
That's how volume 2 ends, pretty much. Which is like a big contention of, is this Tsubaki cheating? Because she, for whatever reason, complies. And this is still in volume 2, but she puts her finger in her mouth, takes up spit, and is holding it out to him, and says, "Here, go ahead." So it leaves on the cliffhanger of is he gonna do it? Because we don't know how this would react with his bond with Uribe
Yeah.
at the time. So it's a big contention
Dude, I
for
feel
is
like
he cheating on Uribe?
Urabe. I don't know how to pronounce these names correctly. I feel like she got the short straw. Like Tsubaki, just like mm, first saying he didn't have a girlfriend to his old crush that he ripped up the photo for, right? And then like asking for his spit or her spit like right after.
Like, boy, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that's
Well,
that's the cliffhanger ending of volume 2, and that'll be the cliffhanger ending of our episode
for
1.
the Gym Trash Podcast, episode 1,
Yeah.
Mysterious Podcast X.
Hopefully I didn't bore any of y'all with my ramblings. Hopefully
I had
hopefully I
fun.
didn't bore
Don't
you,
know if
Zach,
y'all had
because
fun.
at some points you looked a bit tired, not gonna lie.
Oh no, we
We are
good.
recording at
I
like
was just
11 at
listening.
night, so this is a fair point of contention.
True. We are recording on April 20th, so 420, and we wanted to try, or I wanted to try to get this
By
uploaded
today.
by today, just because I thought it would be funny to have our really stupid episode pop up on 420. But sadly, this is probably going to come up like
Oh, it's for sure coming up
tomorrow.
tomorrow because we
Oh
have
yeah,
two
because it's
minutes left of
11:58
420.
p.m.
And sorry, the reason it's not coming up on 420 is entirely my fault. I got the second dose of the COVID vaccine and was just so out of it yesterday that I couldn't record. I
Yeah.
kept falling asleep.
Hey, but now Jared has less of a chance of getting the
Oh
Rona
yeah,
if he shares some
fully
drool.
vaccinated. You're right. I can go find my own Uribe. Sorry, real life girlfriend. That's name I will not mention.
Yeah, we're not gonna name drop yet, unless we have consent.
True.
um, but yeah, hope y'all enjoyed. Come, come back for the next episode, part 2.
Where I will be
Don't know when that's coming
we'll be
out.
covering volumes 3 and probably 4. We might have to cut it off at
Yeah, we're
4.
going the same pace.
Yeah, it's probably going to be split into 3 parts, 2 volumes per part.
We'll see how it goes though. Don't know when that's coming out though. Hopefully
We're still trying to figure out a schedule and of what we want to. And first, we're trying to figure out a schedule. Then we're trying to figure out what we want to talk about. But for sure, we're going to be talking about anime, as evident by this part.
and maybe we'll have another ongoing series. We don't know yet.
We better, because I don't want to be the only. I don't want to be the main speaker each time.
Fine, we'll have 2 ongoing series. We'll figure it out. But thanks for tuning in
To the gym trash
podcast.
All right.
Bye.